Parents of Reddit, what is the weirdest or creepiest thing you found out about your child, but you never will tell them that you found out? I overheard my 8-year-old nephew tell his friends that he tasted his pee. He said it was salty. His friends were like, "Oh, it tastes a bit like liquid Play-Doh." I was with my dad when he found my brother's pee stash on our computer. My dad just clicked out of it and did nothing. Also, my brother had horrible taste back then. They were the biggest, fattest boobs you could imagine. Found my little brother watching a YouTube video called Sonic and Emma Kissing. When he saw me, he started yelling at me to go away and closed the door. He was 6 at the time. Sorry for your loss. You know that game at the carnival where if you throw a ring onto a glass bottle you get a prize? And sometimes there's a special bottle and you can win a giant prize? My kid won this giant panda bear. It was like 4 feet tall. It was huge. Well, that was a few years ago. Once while he was 12, I was helping my wife put away laundry while the boys were outside playing. I walk into my son's room and he wasn't outside playing, naked as the day he was born, with his business stuck in a hole in the panda, humping it like mad. That poor panda. Is this the origin story of sexual harassment panda? I am Korean but I speak conversational Korean. I can get by with most people but I'd poop at an interview. I was 16 and lounging in my chair ready to bust a nut. I pull up this hentai game that had some sweet VFX and fill up half the screen, and the other half with some of my favorite pee. I was an interesting kid who shoved highlighters and pens up his butt when he was 10, even tried 2-3 ice cubes. I start whacking it and I am enjoying myself like this is the crap, and I hear my mom coming in to give me food. In a frantic anxious effort I fumbled for my monitor, turned that crap off. She definitely saw what the heck was going on, and ran at my mother with my dong to shove her out, screaming that she was interrupting my school project. All the meanwhile she was confused and disoriented, screaming in broken English, "My special son, I am so sorry, oh my god project, yes my son project, I'll leave food on table." We never spoke about that night again. My special son, I am so sorry, oh my god project, yes my son project, I'll leave food on table. This is the best part. Up you go. Not my child, but my nephew. He made a drawing of an Easter bunny that had been shot by another cartoon character. I asked him why did that guy shoot the Easter bunny, and my nephew said because it made him feel good. I do lots of things because they feel good. Cersei Lannister. I remember when I was kid I hated when my mom used to clean up my room. I always enjoyed my privacy and didn't like when my mom cleans up my room, especially because she would get mad at what a mess there was. I also collected few pee magazines. That was before internet, and kept it in my wardrobe under the socks. One time I get back from school and my room is cleaned up. I opened a wardrobe and saw my clothes nicely put in order, and a shelf with socks in a mess just like it was. I go angry to my mom and I ask, "Mom, did you clean my room?" Yes, she couldn't maintain eye contact. "I asked you, Mom, not to do that." "Okay, I won't anymore." Being 12-year-old little dong, I knew she found it and it was more awkward for her than for me. She didn't clean my room ever again, but she forced me to do it myself. My friend in high school used to leave his cum rag out to get his mom to stop cleaning his room and finding his weed. My mother had walked in on me fapping to a cookbook several years ago. I didn't turn around, but I could smell her perfume. She thinks I don't know. To be fair, food is vivacious as frick. My grandma once told me that when my aunt was but a child, she heard noises coming from my aunt's bedroom at night. When she came in the light was on, and my then 3 or 4-year-old aunt smiled at her. "Look mommy, I painted the house." There wasn't any actual paint in that room though. She had smeared the walls with her own crap. What the frick? A few years ago, I used to use my nephew's phone to take pictures of my drawings, because he had an iPhone, while I had a piece of crap flip phone at the time. Anyway, one day I was using his phone, and a text came through. I read it out of pure curiosity and being nosy. Turns out he was sending a girl he knew pictures of my drawings, claiming he drew them. Not really weird or creepy, but funny. I never put him on blast for it. Tell that girl who the real artist is and score. Semi-related. Once accidentally opened a forgotten stash of pee while browsing a shared laptop with my mom for pictures of our close family friend who had just died in a freak accident. Hardcore amateur homemade pee. Penetration. BJ's. CM on the face. My parents had just divorced a year or two earlier around when we'd gotten the laptop, and my mom had a weird thing against pee in general, so I immediately said it must be his hidden stash. She believed me, but that also apparently struck her curiosity, so she insisted on us going through the pictures and looking at them to see what he was into. I kept saying no, I'll just delete them, but she wanted to see more because she was shocked he'd be interested in such young girls, as they were all in the 18-20-year-old range. Which made sense for me considering I was in that range whereas he was in his 40s. Being oblivious to how internet pee works, she said she wanted to see if she recognized any of the girls. I think it was weird. I was so panicked I don't remember specifics really. My mom has always treated our relationship more like a friendship than parenting though. So that's the story of how I shared a pee viewing session with my own mother. Oh, and this all happened while we were sitting in a coffee shop for the free internet. I guess this isn't really related at all. The stories here just reminded me of that previously buried memory. Probably when my parents found a picture in our house of my dead uncle, but he was naked and his dong was out, behind my bed. When my uncle died when I was 4 years old, we went to his house and took what we wanted to keep. He died when I was 4 and we went there when I turned 5. I found a picture of him standing in his bedroom, naked. I don't think his dong was hard, but I can't remember a whole lot. Anyway, I was just discovering myself and whatnot. First started masturbating when I was 4, and I kept it. I didn't have any real physical appeal to it, just curious about it. So back at home late at night when everyone was asleep, I would put my covers over my head and pick my pillow up where there was this photo of my naked uncle. I had a little flashlight, and I would just look at it for a while before putting it back under the pillow and falling asleep. One day it fell behind my bed and I looked for it and it was gone. I know it was under the bed now because a week later my parents asked me if I had a picture of my uncle. They found one behind my bed. I had shared a bunk bed with my brother who was a year older, but I don't think they suspected him. I feigned ignorance about the picture though. They of course didn't say he was naked or show me it, but I knew it was the only one I had of him. So that must have been a little weird, their 5-year-old daughter with a picture of her naked uncle. But he was naked and his dong was out, behind my bed. I interpreted this wrong. I checked my 12-year-old daughter's internet history and 2 questionable things popped up. Top 10 signs your dog is dying. Our dog is fine. Never has shown any signs of sickness. And a bunch of flash games where you are a nurse for pregnant famous cartoon characters, like Elsa or Monster High or whatever, that look like they've had the crap beat out of them and you clean them up and help them have babies. Very freaking disturbing, but completely normal to her. She loves those games. I think John Tron played those games recently. This is something that my parents don't know that I know they know. When I was a kid, I had some issues. At school, a teacher asked me to draw a picture of my family, which I did. In that picture, I was bowling with my family. The only problem was that I had drawn the picture with my older brother shoved into a bowling pin, and I was throwing the ball at him. Couple of days later I was sent to spend an hour with my parents' friend who I realized 15 years later was a child psychologist. Now, my parents have never brought this up to me. I only know this because of memories I've pieced together. That's gotta be weird feeling to see your kid with supposed hatred towards your other kid. My brother and I have had our issues, as all brothers do, but we get along well enough. I hate that my parents had to go through that. I'm surprised that they reacted at all. Kids feeling negatively towards their siblings isn't that weird. Found out my son was masquerading online at 7 years old as a girl. Got into forums and little groups, Tumblr, and whatever else he could find all so he could exploit dudes for free Lego stuff. I stumbled on a messenger conversation where he had been talking in PMs about nonsense and 12-year-old girls stuff where he'd pretty much been hanging out in all these places and using frisky dudes to send free Legos to the house. And all that happened on a pretty locked down computer. Just goes to show those parents out there, your kids likely know more than they'll let on. I mean, he was 7 and writing out blog posts about Menarche and made up middle school drama. We talked about it and within 30 seconds he said, "No, I'm not a girl. But if I pretend I'm one, everyone's nice to me and they give me their old Lego sets. Your son is a genius. Like, legitimately. When I lived with my dad, he forbid me from closing my door. Plus, he had tons of stuff in my computer room, or always made an excuse to come in the room. He walked in on me masturbation at least 3 times, and always would just walk in, look at the screen, look at me, then stay in the room to do whatever he was doing. It was so weird it almost seemed like he wanted to happen upon it. Jesus. This is not normal. I hope you know that. Cleaned the toy closet where my 5-year-old niece had all her toys. Found naked Barbies positioned like they were freaking. That's totally normal. I didn't have a Ken doll, so all my Barbies were lesbians. On behalf of my stepdad, I have a story. When I was a teenager, I literally got into an pee contest with a couple friends. It started with us trying to fill pop cans with a bladder's worth of pee, but progressed to wine bottles and whatever other container we could get our hands on. It wasn't long before this became a deranged collection of pee bottle trophies filling an entire bookcase in the spare room of my parents' house. Well, my stepdad discovered this one day. He refused to say how he figured out what the bottles were filled with, and made my friends and I haul the bottles out and dispose of them. We hid them in the forest. Oddly, the next day we checked on them and they were all smashed. Stepdad swears he didn't do that. I suspect some poor sap discovered the bottles weren't filled with wine either. My parents found my sister's pee stash, but I got blamed for it. My sister was like 14-15 at the time and had saved an impressive amount of yaoi and other weird animated Japanese pee on the computer, primarily of homoerotic nature. They thought it was mine as I am their openly gay son. My sister to this day thinks it's hysterical. I was 14. One time, after a glorious late night masturbation session, I ejaculated and immediately fell asleep with my semen drying on what I call my CM catcher, which is the space between your pointer finger and thumb. So I zonked right out after climax. Lights on, door wide open because my parents had our bedrooms separated off into another hallway with a set of doors in between. Basically had enough warning to zip it up if I heard the outer door open. But, alas, I passed out immediately after jizzing. I woke up with a fresh stack of laundry piled up at the foot of my bed, the lights off, and the door closed. My stepmom must have walked in after I passed out with laundry, saw me naked, sprawled out with CM drying on my hand and stomach, dropped off my laundry, turned off the light, and never breathed a word of it. Bless her. Mods, rename him Jizz Boss. When I was a kid, my mom walked in the room while my cousin and I were looking at Vanessa Hudgens' nude pictures on the desktop computer. The computer was too slow for me to try to X anything out before my mom appeared behind me. She was not pleased. When I was 11, my dad found out that I had been watching his hentai and discovered a sketchbook full of badly drawn anime people freaking in my room. Needless to say, I wasn't allowed to draw anime for a few years after that. I'm a girl, not a boy. So he had hentai, but was upset you liked hentai. Kind of odd. When I was young, like 8 years old, and before I even knew what masturbation was or even an orgasm for that matter, my cousin taught me the glory that was the pool jet. I used to spend days with my dong propped up against that sucker, feeling very good yet never understanding what was happening. My parents and sister laugh about it a lot today. It made discovering masturbation a little less fun because the first time I rubbed one out I recognized the feeling, which made it a little less whimsical. Ah, the good old days. My parents said they found gay, male, pee on the computer when brother was 13 or 14. They wanted me to ask him about it. I was like, nope, no way in heck. That is embarrassing for everyone. No one ever said anything. Got a little brother. I am fairly certain he's a sociopath. He enjoys playing Sims, but purely to burn the people to death. He will burn the house down, then reload the game to the last save time and do it again and again. I recently went onto his phone to install a game for him and noticed all the other games he had. At least 5 games that allow you to torture people in different ways. I need to stress that he does it every single time he plays the game. He plays it a lot, and he laughs when they die. It's quite creepy actually. I myself have killed Sims in multiple ways. I once built a room on my 2nd floor just to store guests and let them die. I did this once and then I got bored. My brother has done this every single time he plays. And it doesn't quite explain the fact that he also has a number of torture games on his phone. Oh, and he's 11 years old. One more thing. My parents are aware of it. They have tried to get him to stop, but he will still do it when they are not watching. Some more detail about his Sims playing. He has never played the game for anything other than killing them. He once asked me when I was installing the latest one for him if he can still kill people. If the house doesn't have an oven, he will literally sell everything in the house to buy one. I used to make all my Sims go into the yard. I then built a fence around them so they were stuck in there, just crying and pee themselves. Eventually they would die and the Grim Reaper would come. Good times. My sister got her period when she was 9, and over the next 9 years I'd find dried up used tampons stashed around the house in drawers and in purses, backpacks. I brought it up to my mom, who vehemently denied anything was wrong with her golden child, and I was chastised. Dysfunctional family story for another time. Never found out why she was hoarding used tampons. Google doesn't come up with any answers either. If the trash can was in a visible accessible spot, mine was in the kitchen. For example, she might have been too embarrassed to go out there and toss them out where other family members might see her. Source: Mom was horrified to discover a massive treasure trove of used pads behind my dresser when I was 13. Went to see if my 4-year-old was asleep. He was playing with his pecker and talking to himself. Not sure if it was his first boner, but still an oddly proud dad moment. It's gonna get interesting. I checked my younger brother's internet history. He was 7 at the time, and saw lots of searches for naked girls and Watosovy at Gina Lukalik. I never told my parents, and I won't ever tell him I found that. Way too young for that. That spelling, LOL. My parents found out, unknown to me, that I had an underground black market selling swords and knives that I bought or forged myself to other kids around the neighborhood. They haven't talked to me about it yet, but they've noticed the sudden influx of cash from it. It has been years. You are the village blacksmith. My daughter is 7 and a prodigy, which is great. However, she can read everything and read IT quickly. She stole a magazine I had with an article about Saddam Hussein's trial, and it had a picture of him ready to be hanged. I only found out when I heard her in her room reading it saying, "Good, kill him, he is evil." I stole it out of her room after she fell asleep and I threw it out. Before anyone busts my balls. I honestly had forgotten I still had the magazine on a bookshelf between some reference books. It is quite intense what children can find and then read. It happened not to me, but to my mom when she was young. She found as a little child a book about the crimes of the Nazi regime and was extremely troubled, in special because we are Germans and her father fought and got caught in Stalingrad. It was really troubling for her imagining her father in such a situation. We found my little brother when he was like 3 or 4 years old eating the dead flies that collect in the space between the window screen and the window. Well, we didn't actually see it, we just saw him by the side of the window smiling with fly wings and legs in his teeth. LOL. My dad tells the story to people with no reservations. We live out in the country and have a septic system. When my daughter started her period, we told her not to put her tampons and pads in the toilet. Flash forward 2 years. I was pulling dirty cloths from her closet when I noticed a plastic bag hanging from a hanger. My curiosity piqued because it seemed really full. I thought it could be more cloth since she seemed to enjoy hiding her dirty cloths. I reached in and pulled out a handful of used maxi pads. Apparently when I told her not to flush them in the toilet, I failed to say put them in the trash. So let me start by saying that over the years I've had a crap ton of problems with disordered eating, self-harm, depression, etc. And my family is very bad at pretty much all forms of communication. So I've had a lot of stuff go missing from my room without it being mentioned. Razors, purge bags, food I'd hidden, a couple suicide notes, and nobody ever mentions a thing even though we all know that everybody knows. Dunno if that all counts or not. I'm sort of venting TBH. Sorry to hear that and I hope you're doing better. One weekend my parents went rifling through my room while I was away. Don't remember where I went, but they had the entire weekend to search my room. I was probably 14. I had my stash of prawn pictures hidden on the top shelf of my closet underneath a box. I thought it was the best hiding spot ever. There was pictures of feet, girls with CM on their face, up close T-shots, I was 14, so my prom game wasn't advanced yet. Anyways, apparently my mother found them and freaked out at what kind of prom I was looking at. She threw them all into a garbage bag along with all the other trash they had found. My dad salvaged my prom treasures from the garbage and put them back where she had found them. I get home. My dad just says, "Mom found your pictures in your closet. You should find a better hiding spot." I thought it was a little funny. I'll never have fun on the internet ever again. Your dad sounds awesome. Oh, this is embarrassing, but whatever. Not my parents, but me. When I first discovered I could ejaculate, about 12 or so, I didn't really know what to do with the jizz, so I would blow into my underwear and then hide it under this gap under my desk shelving combo unit thing. Anyway, I started running out of underwear very fast and my mother became suspicious. Came home from school one day to all my jizz undies clean and folded on my bed. No discussion was had. By the time those undies would have been found, you probably could have snapped them in half or at least heard a crunch with every movement. I was fricked. Found pee in the Barbie doll bathtub. I knew for sure it was my daughter. I mean, she is the only suspect. Or Barbie really loves golden showers. But yeah, cleaned it out with bleach and hot water and never said a word because I knew it would have embarrassed her. I think she did it on the day I told her no more playing in the sink because of the massive amount of water I had to clean up after. My dad, sister and I found my brother's BDSM stash years after he moved out that he had completely forgotten about. My dad quickly got rid of it before my mom could find out, with my mom being a hardcore Christian and all. Funny thing was, it wasn't in any of the trash bins when I was curious to see where my dad dumped it. My son is 5. Last year when he was 4, I found all these personal videos he'd shot on his Samsung Galaxy, and there was one where he used every bad word he knew. I don't know who Connor is, but he's a total butthead. Meanie, stupid face. He should definitely not mess with my kid anymore. I had an almost empty bottle of lube in my room, and one day my mom cleaned my room and it was in the garbage. She never said a word. I think the worst part was when I bought a new bottle and found it moved from where it was to my dresser. It was like my mom said, "Find a better hiding space before I puke." Daughter here. I fell asleep once after using my celeb. Mum came into my room in the morning before she left early for work to tell me to feed the dogs, and in my half asleep state I just whipped my celeb from under the duvet and gave it her. She went, "What do I do with this?" and I went, "Just put it in the drawer," and went back to sleep. Woke up realizing what I'd done, and to this day do not know why my half asleep self thought it was going to end well. I guess for me it was about my stepdaughter, and she knows I know, but her mom doesn't know. Her internet friend Kim is not just a friend but a girlfriend. Hopefully Kim isn't a 35-year-old woman. My GF and I decided to look at her kid's search history. He's really into dragons. Yeah, I had to explain Rule 34 to her. Totally going to tell my son about the time he whipped his little dong out in the busy Old Navy checkout during Christmas. We had to be stuck in line for another half hour with parents keeping the other children in line away from my son, the flasher. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.